Folks, welcome to Global Leadership Perspective, and again I want to make a brief comment in regard to an event that took place a few days ago, and that this has to do with National Prayer Breakfast Meeting that is always organized by the National Assembly and presided over by the President and other high-profile political leaders, and of course not just political leaders but other leaders as well. I want to point out something that I noted, that the words and the action of the President in regard to the statement he made are not in tandem. And I want to point out a few, one thing, if not two, that is making me to say that these are not completely in tandem. And you know, we are talking about leaders and we are talking about leadership. And leadership is all about being consistent and having the ability to convince by even our words and our action. And so our words and our action has to be in tandem. If they are not in tandem, if there is no correlation, then this will create ground for doubts and speculations, and this at the end of the day is going to hurt our reputation as leaders and our character even as leaders. And so the President, during this meeting, he talked about, he made a comment in the periphery concerning democracy. And this he was insinuating that Kenya is a democratic country, and because of that, of course, the implication is that everybody need to have the space and to air out their views, either to agree or to differ, and so these should not be confronted with any kind of intimidation and any kind of force that is contrary to what the tenets of democracy dictates. Well, it is one thing just to make statements, and it's one thing to apply the kind of the statements, because that is when we know whether you believe in the kind of the statement you're issuing, whether you believe in the kind of the philosophy you are proclaiming to subscribe to, whether you subscribe to the kind of the values that you claim to subscribe to. It's until when we see your action, especially when that difficult moment is called upon or manifests in your process of leadership. And so the reason why I'm saying this per se indicates a bit of hypocrisy and just a way of looking or being strategic enough to please the masses, or just seeing, looking for specific words to fit a particular context. Such statement was made because, one, if for sure the President is serious about democracy, the opposition is always out to air their views, but the opposition has always been met with very ruthless action. Arrests, left, center, right, beatings, left, center, right. And so this not action that can clearly say that somebody is really standing and advocating for democracy. So I find this as, again, a statement that indeed is not correlated. These are two things that are not correlating to each other. They are completely what I would call conundrum positions or statements. Because the President himself, if he says he stand for democracy, let us see him practicing it. He can go ahead and whip the people he's working with, convince them, persuade them, if need be, ask them that they need to know that they have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to stand with what they believe and to ensure they do that. Not on one occasion to talk about democracy and on the other occasion to defeat the same democracy with the kind of action that are being emanated or being seen in the public. And so I find this, as much as it was a good rhetoric statement, but at the end of the day, we need to see action. We need to see action, and that is what is going to convince us that indeed this government is appreciating democracy, and so everybody need to appreciate democracy. The King bless Kenya, and the King bless all the leaders in Kenya. We pray that God will grant them wisdom and the ability even to do the right thing, especially to ensure that the words and the action that are being put in the air and thrown in the air, they are in tandem.